You know the deal with the Dodgers, right? They're always going to be one of the top teams that you got to focus on at this time of the year, right? We know the prospects that the Dodgers have. We know the talent that they have in that organization. We know how good that team is when they're healthy. They've had a lot of injuries as of late, and of course, they're going to be looking to make some moves here. And right now, with Brandon Gomes, the latest that we got as of yesterday is that the Dodgers are seeking a impact rotation arm. I mean, we've seen the connections here with Tarek Skubal. We've seen it with Garrett Crochet. I think one of those guys are going to land up with the Dodgers. I think out of the two, I think Garrett Crochet is most likely. I think Tarek Skubal is really interesting. I'm not going to get too into Tarek Skubal here tonight. With Tarek Skubal, I'll just say this. I'm 50-50 on whether or not I think he gets moved. When it comes to Skubal here, it really just comes down to what the Tigers want to do, right? I mean, yeah, the Orioles can get a deal done. The Dodgers can get a deal done if they want to. It comes down to what the Tigers want to do at the end of the day. I do think if they get an offer that includes Jackson Holliday and maybe another piece or two, I think that could definitely turn some heads in the Tigers organization. We'll just have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, it really just comes down to what are the Tigers' plans, right? The Tigers, they got talent in that organization, and they will be wanting to compete next year. So hanging on to Skubal absolutely makes sense, right? The one problem with the Tigers is they just can't hit. So if they want to add some bats to the organization, that could make some sense. You could go out in the free agent market this year, try and sign some guys, but you are trading away your ace. So, yeah, that is going to be a bit of a hit there. So, it's going to be interesting with the Tigers at the end of the day. I think they're just going to have to be blown away for a deal to get done. However, for Garrett Crochet, I think that is definitely a possibility. So Brandon Gomes, he was talking yesterday and saying that they are seeking a impact rotation arm. He clearly said rotation. So, Garrett Crochet, he's going to be on that innings limit, right? That's going to be a big thing with Garrett Crochet. He's going to be that Andrew Miller 2016 type. So Garrett Crochet is not really going to give them that boost in the rotation. He will for next year. Yeah, you could easily he's going to be in your rotation next year. But for the postseason, when it comes to that, he's not going to be a guy that's going to be starting games. Maybe he can open some games. I think that's possible. But with the Dodgers, the one thing that they have at their advantage is they have a Yoshinobu Yamamoto, right? That's going to be coming back here eventually. You got Glasnow, Kershaw. I know people are going to say what they want to say about, Kershaw in the postseason, but you still got Kershaw at the end of the day. So you got guys, even Gavin Stone too. You got guys that are going to be able to start postseason games. So with Crochet, there's some flexibility there with him where you could bring him in different roles, right? I still think you could go after Garrett Crochet, and I think you could maybe turn to another guy on the Tigers like a Jack Flaherty. I think that could make some sense. There's going to be other guys out there as well. You got guys like Zach Eflin. Maybe you could even turn to the Chicago Cubs if they end up selling pieces. Maybe someone like a Jameson Tyone. You got Yusei Kikuchi, right? Yusei Kikuchi, Shohei Ohtani. It looked like they were going to be teammates at one point until the guy from Shark Tank got off the plane. So maybe those two could end up coming together. There's a lot of options out there for the Dodgers at the end of the day. I do think they will get someone for that rotation, especially with all the injuries they've had. They need to add something here. But the quote exactly was targeting starting pitching, but it's going to be an impact type arm. So, yeah, when you think impact, yeah, you're thinking of that Tarek Skubal. But again, it's going to come down to what the Tigers want to do. One name that's been popping up a little bit has been Justin Steele. I would keep your eyes on Justin Steele. The one thing that the Dodgers could do for the Cubs, right, when it comes to trading away Justin Steele, right? Let me actually pull up here the good old simulator. Let's go to baseballtradevalues.com. The one thing when it comes to pulling off a deal for Justin Steele is the Cubs are going to want pieces back. They're going to be able to help them next year. They got players there that are going to help them win now. They just signed Craig Counsell to a big deal. So, yeah, they're going to be looking to compete. So, Justin Steele, I mean, I think that's a really tough piece to give up. But what the Dodgers could do is they could send pieces back to the Cubs that could help them next year. And don't forget the Dodgers and the Cubs, right? They just made a deal this past offseason with Michael Busch, right? So, you have that prior experience with the two that were making moves together, right? So if you were to do a deal here with Justin Steele, yeah, it's going to cost you quite a bit. He's got a bit more control for the next couple of years. So, but for the Dodgers, they could easily pull off a deal here if they wanted to. One idea here, the Cubs, they could use a catcher in that organization. Maybe you could send back a Dalton Rushing to the Chicago Cubs, right? Maybe you could send back Dalton Rushing, send back maybe someone like River Ryan, possibly. Maybe you could do a 2-for-1, Dalton Rushing, River Ryan for Justin Steele. Maybe that could be a possibility there. We'll see. And maybe the Cubs, they can go onto the free agent market. They can go sign a guy, maybe make a trade for another starting pitcher in the offseason, right? Shota Imanaga, he's been fantastic for them this year. So obviously they're going to have him in the rotation. So I think, if you're the Dodgers, you could definitely give the Chicago Cubs a call here. I definitely think that's a possibility. And that's the one thing the Dodgers got. They got guys that are major league ready and or close, to major league ready. So I think this could be an interesting possibility here, but keep your eyes out for it. We also had something yesterday for Mark Feinsand that the Dodgers are in on Arozarena. I feel like the Dodgers have been connected with Randy Arozarena for so long now. At this point, I feel like he's going to get moved, but then again, he got off to the bit of a tough start. Feels like he's been going through a tough stretch since the midpoint last year. He has been hitting a lot better in the last month, so maybe we have finally seen Randy Arozarena turn that corner. But for the Dodgers, yeah, I mean, that has not been really a great kept secret. They've been, looking to try and add something for the outfield. Now, Randy Arozarena, when you look at the overall numbers with him this year, they're not great. But like I said, the last 30 days, they have been pretty good numbers, right? But overall, he's hitting 209. That on base is at 315, slugging at a 392. The WRC plus at 108. That's still pretty good overall. Like I said, though, he's been hitting a lot better lately, so maybe he's getting hot at the right time, and the Dodgers can try to capitalize on that. He still has, 15 home runs on the year, so he's on pace for his usual 20, 25 home runs, and he's going to give you speed as well, 15 home runs on the year, 15 stolen bases on the year. So, I wonder with the Rays, right, with Randy Arozarena, his value has come down a little bit. I do think that recent surge in performance is going to boost his value a little bit. But, when it comes to Randy Arozarena and the Rays, maybe you could even put something else in that deal. Like I said, you got Zach Eflin over there. Maybe you could do a 2 for, get 2 players back, maybe send back a package of guys to the Rays. I think that could be something, right? So, that could kill 2 birds with 1 stone right there. I think Zach Eflin could be a pretty good fit with the Dodgers overall. We'll just have to wait and see. But in the end, the Dodgers, they're looking to make some moves. They're looking to do some they're looking to do some cooking over there. And hey, they're going to get something done. It's just a matter of what it is, right? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of what at this point. We did get a couple of super chats here. Wow, we actually got 4 super chats here. Thank you so much. Yogi Dude, how you doing, my friend? You're saying here, you think the deadline will fix the Mariners lineup? I don't. I'm going to get to the Mariners in just a little bit. I'm going to talk about one player in particular here coming up, and then I'll shift over to the Mariners here. And Yogi, dude, that is a segment for tonight. I got some thoughts on the Mariners, so stay tuned for that. Dylan, 499, how would you feel about the Red Sox trading for Mason Miller? Would definitely help a lot. Probably will have to give up one of the big three. Yeah, I agree. I do think one of them would have to go back to the Oakland A's. They could do it, but I feel like at this point, the Red Sox, they're in top prospect hugging mode. I think there are certain prospects they would be willing to deal. We'll talk about the Red Sox in just a little bit. Just to answer your question real quick, I just don't see the Red Sox making a big move like that. I could see them making, maybe like a medium-sized kind of a move, smaller kind of a move, nothing crazy, nothing substantial. I think they will look to add something that can help them this year and next year as well, if not the year after that as well too. So I think the Red Sox, they're going to be looking to make a move for now and in the future. I'll talk more about that in just a little bit, but Dylan, thank you for that. Big Braves fan, and Dylan, and I know Mason Miller would fit that bill as well. I just think he's going to be too expensive at this point, but I'll talk about some players in just a little bit. Big Braves fan, $1.99. What's going on with my Braves? What is going on with your Braves? My goodness, the Braves, they got to pick it up here. We'll talk about the Braves in just a little bit. I do have a possible suggestion for the Atlanta Braves that I think could maybe help that team out a little bit. Tyler Gates, $2 super chat. Is Marcelo Meyer getting called up or traded? I would say neither. I think he's going to stay down in the minor leagues this year. I could see him getting called up to AAA, but no, he's not getting traded. I would be absolutely shocked if Marcelo Meyer is traded. I don't see that happening, though. Yeah, but no, I would say neither on both of those. He's going to stay down in the minor leagues. So, everyone, let's get to it here. If you can, hit that like button for us. That's really going to help us out in the algorithm. Unfortunately, a couple of streams, they got started right before us, and every time that happens, that's going to affect our viewership a lot. We need some help with that like button here tonight. Also, everyone, just a quick reminder, I'm going to be kind of annoying with this, but I need your help. If you can, go to that link that I pinned to the top of the chat. I also put the link in the description down below. If you can go vote for me on that Twitter poll, I will love you forever. That would help out greatly. We are in a tight battle in that tournament, so go help us out over on Twitter. But everyone, let's get to the next story, shall we? Let's get to the next story. And when it comes to Isaac Paredes, right? Isaac Paredes, we're talking about Randy Rosarena. We're talking about the Rays here. But we got a little Isaac Paredes. I was going to talk about Isaac the other night. Unfortunately, our stream got cut out. My computer completely froze, and I don't know what the heck happened the other night. So apologies again for that. But Isaac Paredes, right? We got a little something on him today. We've had a little bit over the last couple of days, nothing substantial, but we got a report here from Chandler Rome of The Athletic. He's saying here the Astros, looking to lengthen their lineup and get more production out of first base, are among the teams with interest in Rays infielder Isaac Paredes. Now, taking a look here at Mr. Isaac Paredes, he's having himself a good year, right? He's hitting 250, on base at 352, has the slugging at 445, WRC plus at 131, 16 home runs. Funny with him, when you go to his StatCast sheet, there's a lot of blue on there. It's funny, he's a big guy, right? He doesn't necessarily hit the ball all that hard, right? When you take a look at the exit velocities, it's all in the blues, but he's a guy that's pretty patient up at the plate. He's not going to strike out all that much. He's going to be a guy that can be productive in your lineup. So with Isaac Paredes, he has a lot of control as well. He's not a free agent until after 2027. So with Isaac, right, he's been playing third base, but this is a guy that can play some first base as well. He would definitely help out the Houston Astros when it comes to their lineup. So I'm not surprised at all to see the Astros showing some interest. The problem that I have with Isaac Paredes and the Astros is I don't think the Astros are going to be able to afford him. That's the only problem here. Now, if I pull up the good old simulator here, if I do a trade between the Rays and the Astros, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to happen here. So taking a look when it comes to Isak. So he has over a $50 million trade value. That's how productive this guy has been. And when you look at the projections for him, right, and along with the fact that he's cheap and he's going to keep being pretty cheap over the next couple of years, yeah, it's going to cost a lot for him, right? So when it comes to the Astros, when you're looking at, I mean, maybe you could give up a Jacob Melton here, but I don't know, would the Astros want to do that? I'm not quite sure about that, right? Jake Bloss, like Eric Getty, these guys are helping out in the rotation. I don't see how these guys could be moved at this point when they need pitching, right? Bryce Matthews, I think, could be a nice piece in a deal, but he's not going to be a guy that really closes the gap for you at the end of the day. So I don't see the Astros being able to pull this off unless the Rays took a major underpay, right? They just it didn't get really anything back for him. You never know. The Rays, they do some weird stuff. Maybe they end up taking a package that is not really in range with his value. We could maybe see something like that. The Rays, they're always pretty quirky with how they do things. Maybe they could, value a player in the Astros system more than what the Astros value them at. The Rays, again, they have their weird ways of doing things. So in the end, I'm going to say Paredes does not go to the Astros, but there are some teams out there. I think there is one team that could be a pretty good fit, and let's actually talk about the Mariners here real quick. Now, when it comes to the Seattle Mariners, right, they have been dealt quite the hiccup here. All right, J.P. Crawford, Julio Rodriguez facing notable absences. J.P. Crawford, he has a fracture in his hand. He's going to be missing at least a month. They're saying 4 to 6 weeks. And Julio Rodriguez has no timetable at this point. Has a high ankle sprain. I mean, I think you could absolutely see J-Rod out for the next month. I think that's very possible. The Mariners are in trouble right now. That offense is really bad. They strike out the most in Major League Baseball. They have the third worst on-base percentage. They don't make a lot of contact. I mean, they're barely scoring runs over there. And now you just lost J.P. Crawford and J-Rod. While they weren't really having great years, these are definitely guys that could heat up down the stretch, and you just lost both of them. That's bad. That's bad for the Mariners, man. But if you wanted to go after someone like an Isak Paredes, I think that could make some sense. That would definitely be an upgrade at third base. That would definitely bring a bat that's going to be more patient in there. I could definitely see something like this overall. And I think the Mariners can afford him. I think you could do a package. Maybe you could do like a Tyler Locklear. You could do like a Harry Ford. Maybe you could do like a Logan Evans. I think you could do a package for Isak Paredes. I think that's possible. Will the Mariners do it? I'm not quite sure. I think it would be a pretty good move for them because you would have him for the next couple of years. So maybe we could see the Mariners do it. I'm not quite sure. Maybe this whole Astros thing, right? You got to remember when it comes to the trade deadline, when it comes to, teams in division, right? Maybe the Astros possibly caught wind of the Mariners being interested in Paredes, and maybe the Astros are trying to make a call to try and drive up that price a little bit. That could be a possibility, right? Teams will do that. They'll play those little games with each other. So very possible there. We'll have to just wait and see how this turns out. But personally, I don't think the Astros are going to be able to land him. I think a team like the Mariners could make more sense for Paredes. We'll just have to wait and see. But let's get to our next story here. Let's get to the next story. And we got a little something here on Christian Yelich. Really bad news here for the Milwaukee Brewers, right? The Brewers, they have been getting a lot of production from the offense this year, and they were dealt a very tough cookie today. A very tough cookie, and very bad news. And we got Christian Yelich possibly requiring back surgery. So the last bit of news that we got on this was from Adam McCalvey on MLB.com. Says Yelich is meeting with a spine specialist tomorrow, and season-ending back surgery is a possibility. Says here, everybody plays through stuff, but sometimes you just can't. That's kind of where we're at this point. Your body won't cooperate with you. Now, if we go here to the Milwaukee Brewers, like I said, they've been getting a good offense this year. And, pitching side of things, that's kind of where we've been sort of paying attention to for the most part with the Milwaukee Brewers, because their offense has been great. I mean, they've been getting a lot of guys stepping up for them this year. This is a deep lineup for Milwaukee, and now with Christian Yelich out, man, I think their lineup is still going to be okay because they do have a lot of bats, but Yelich was having himself a really good year. He was hitting .315, had an OPS over 900, had 11 home runs to go along with it, a 156 WRC plus. He was well on his way to, having himself his best season since his MVP campaign. I mean, if you take a look here, back in 2019, he had the 6.5 Fangraph wins above replacement. Back before that, or the year before that, it was 7.7. So yeah, this guy was well on his way to getting at least a 5 F-WAR for this year. That's a tough blow for the Milwaukee Brewers and Christian Yelich at the end of the day. But where do the Brewers go from here? What do they do here? You're going to have to do something. But like I said, you still got a lot of bats here, right? So right now you're looking at, Chiriot out in left field. You still got Frelick out in right. In center field, you still got Garrett Mitchell out there. And at, DH, you got Rhys Hoskins. So they still have a lot of bats here. I wonder if maybe they could go for possibly like a right-handed hitter here to kind of, maybe help balance some things out, right? Like you said, you got Frelick here in right field. You got Garrett Mitchell out in center field. Maybe they can go for a right-handed bat, kind of give them a little something else that can, just give them another option on that team. We'll have to just wait and see what they end up doing there. When I'm thinking of guys that are, right-handed hitters, maybe they can go up against some left-handed pitching. You could do, someone like a Lane Thomas there. Maybe Taylor Ward could be an option. I think that could be possible. Kale, I see you in the chat there, right? Taylor Ward. Andrew, maybe Randy Rosarena. Maybe you could end up doing something like that, right? Garrett Mitchell, how is Garrett Mitchell doing so far this year? Garrett Mitchell's doing okay, right? Yeah, he's hitting .250, has an OPS at 762. So I feel like Garrett Mitchell, he missed a lot of time. Is he good to go now? Like, I feel like with Mitchell, the health is always something of a concern with him. All right, so he came back in July, and it looks like he's been fine for the most part. So, all right, so I think things are okay there. Brewers fans, let me know, But I think, yeah, maybe a right-handed bat there, maybe kind of balance some things out, possibly. So when it comes to the Milwaukee Brewers, I still think, for the most part, they need to focus on the pitching. They need to add another starting pitcher, right? Aaron Savali, sure, pretty good add there, getting Savali for the rotation. I think they need something else, right? Someone like Eric Fetty, I think, could make some sense. That he could be in their rotation for next year as well. Maybe you could do someone like a Zach Eflin, right, who's under control for next year as well. I think someone else, or I think Eflin, honestly, would be a really nice add. You could do Peralta and Eflin games 1 and 2 in the postseason. I think that's pretty nice overall. We'll just have to wait and see what the Milwaukee Brewers end up doing. I don't necessarily think they're going to sound the alarm to go for a bat. I still think they should add some pitching. If they do, I see you in the chat too, John Todd. Maybe Tyler Anderson could end up being a guy there as well. But again, I think they focus on the starting pitching. I don't necessarily think you need to sound the alarm and go get a bat. Yeah, Yelich is a big loss. I definitely agree with that. But I think they have a lot of guys here where you're not going to be able to make up for that Yelich production, but I think you can still keep your lineup pretty strong for the most part. We'll see, though. We'll see. Let's see how the lineup does over the next week or so. But yeah, Yelich, tough loss. Tough loss. But let's get to my Red Sox here. Did we have a super chat that came in? I just want to make sure. No, I did not miss any super chats. While I'm getting the next story ready, everyone, if you can, just hit that like button for me. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure that bell notification is turned on. And I know I'm going to be annoying saying this, but if you can, go click that link that I posted at the top of the chat. Go vote for me in the Red Sox Twitter Personality Tournament. And speaking of the Red Sox, oh man, we got a little something here. And actually, real quick, just to make sure you guys see that link, I'm going to post it one more time in the chat. The link is there. If you can click that link and go vote for me, I will love you forever. But taking a look here at the Red Sox. Oh, we got some good news here today. We got some good news. Well, not in Colorado, right? Well, not the game, right? That was a pretty rough one today. Did see Dom Smith pitching, though. That's always fun when you get to see Dom Smith pitching. But for the Red Sox, good news. Alex Cora getting signed to a 3-year extension. I've been on the record saying I was thinking Alex Cora was going to be gone after this year, right? But the Red Sox, you've seen what they've been able to do this year. They're exceeding expectations. They got a good team out there that's playing hard. They're pitching well this year. That was a bit of a concern for the Red Sox this year, but they have completely shown that Andrew Bailey has completely turned things around for them. This pitching staff has been amazing for the Red Sox this year. And it's so funny to think, going back to the offseason, right? You wanted Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and now he's on the IL, you know, Jordan Montgomery, for crying out loud, right? You know, I was, banging the drum for Jordan Montgomery. It felt like every single night. And he's been having a terrible year. And look how good the Red Sox pitching staff has been. Minus today. I'm not talking about today. Today does not count. But this is huge. This is a massive deal here. This is so important. I can't stress this enough. I think Alex Cora is one of the best managers in the game, if not the best manager in the game. He has simply just shown that if you just give him resources, he can work with what you give him. You just have to, you got to give him something to work with. They've been building that organizational depth over the last couple of years. That's been quite the process over the last couple of years. But this year, they have guys they can turn to. And like I mentioned earlier, Andrew Bailey, they brought him in. He's been a complete game changer for the Red Sox. I just think Cora, he's got more resources now. He's got better people around him. Yeah. You got to get this guy signed up, because if you just give him what he needs, he can go help you win games. It's that simple. The players like playing for him. He's well respected across Major League Baseball. The players play hard for him. He's a guy that's going to keep you accountable. He's going to get the most out of you, right? Cora is a guy that connects really well with the players at the end of the day. I think this is absolutely massive that they got this done. Now, what I also think, this is what I was speculating too. I think with Alex Cora, I guarantee you, if there was, a conversation going on with Cora, Craig Breslow, I guarantee there was something where it came up where Cora said something along the lines of, are we adding at the deadline? What are we doing? Are we going to make moves? Are we actually going to be buyers this year? What are we doing in the off season? Are we going to, is that full throttle thing going to actually be real? I think that was I'm guessing, I'm speculating, I don't know. I would imagine that is something that he wants. Like, he wants this organization to be the Boston Red Sox. You have money, go out there and spend, right? Seems to me that the Red Sox are well on their way to doing just that, because it's funny enough, Craig Breslow, the timing is a little weird with this. He came out and said here today, saying, we're going to look to improve the team. He said here, at some point, we need to stop with the stupid analogies and put the turn signal on. We've played really good baseball for the last few months. We've put ourselves in this position where we're going to look to improve the team. That's where we would want to be. I find that very funny. I find the timing of this really funny because not too long ago, he was basically saying stuff along the lines of, we haven't fully decided. We don't really know which way we're going. He wants to take a definitive path. He needs to see what this team is going to do, over the next week or so, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden, Cora gets extended here today, and then he makes these comments saying, we've played really good baseball for the last few months. I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of a different tone from the last time he spoke. So it makes me think Cora was saying, listen, I want to stick around here, but you guys got to, get me some players, right? If we need to improve the team, you got to do it, right? Because you got a team like the Dodgers out there that maybe could be looking for a new manager this offseason where they're going to go out there and make moves, right? But there was also this little part of what Breslow was talking about when it came to improving the team. He says here, I think if we were to be pretty specific, pitching is always what we look for at the deadline, especially given some of the injuries that we're currently battling through, some of the ones we had on the starting pitching side earlier in spring training, and at the beginning of the season between Giolito, Whitlock, and now you got Slayton and Chris Martin too. Hopefully we get those guys back here soon, but definitely looking for pitching. Now, funny enough, just so happens that the Cubs are prioritizing 2025 and beyond. They got a couple of guys here. I already mentioned Justin Steele a little bit ago. I feel like he might be a little too pricey, but you do have a guy by the name of Jameson Taillon. And remember, Craig Breslow, he's very familiar with the Chicago Cubs. That's where he was for the last few years now. I think someone like Jameson Taillon could make a lot of sense. He is on a bigger contract, 4 years, $68 million. He's averaging $17 million per season. I think the Cubs are going to have to eat a little bit of this contract at least. But where that helps out the Red Sox is they wouldn't have to give up major prospects for Jameson Taillon. And that's what I think the Red Sox, they want to approach this deadline with that in mind. They don't want to give up any of the big three. They don't want to give up Marcelo Meyer. They don't want to give up Roman Anthony. You don't want to give up any of these guys, right? Kyle Teal especially, Christian Campbell. Yes, that's a guy that's just come alive here. You do not want to give up those guys at this point in time. But Jameson Taillon, you could get a deal done for him, I think. Now, it's also funny because if you could think back here to Sam Kennedy not too long ago, Red Sox president, he was saying that the Red Sox are willing to take on some payroll. Kind of connect the dots here a little bit. It sounds like to me the Red Sox are willing to take on a guy that will cost money, but someone that's not going to cost you a whole lot in terms of prospects. Now, I think Zach Eflin could fit that bill as well. I've been mentioning him. I think guys on contracts where the Red Sox can pay the money, but they can hang on to their farm system. That's what I think is going to happen here. I'm totally in for it, man. I'm absolutely into it. I think Jameson Taillon would be really good for the rotation. And then you can maybe put someone like a Cooper Criswell in the bullpen. That could definitely, he's been very durable this year. He's really been effective for them. I think, you put him in a multi-inning spot out of the bullpen. I think it's perfect. I think it makes a lot of sense. We've been seeing, talks of James Paxton. I don't know. I mean, I feel like the Red Sox, they had the option to bring back Paxton this past offseason. I mean, I think they could still go for it. Will Paxton want to go back there? I mean, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. To me, I think the Red Sox, they're going to add someone along the lines of a Jameson Taillon. I was kind of kicking the tires around possibly on someone like a Justin Steele. I think that could be really interesting if they went that route. The problem with that, with Justin Steele and the Red Sox, he's going to cost prospects. So this is where I don't see it happening necessarily. So if we were to put together a mock trade here, Justin Steele, we just pulled him up earlier. He's looking, right around $35 million in trade value. The Red Sox are going to have to give up quite a bit, to get him. I think you could start with a Christian Campbell. I think that if you were to deal any of the higher prospects in their system, Christian Campbell just got put into the top 100 on Baseball America. I think he could be an option there. But again, I would imagine the Cubs would want someone that can help them out for next year. I've been seeing people on Twitter maybe, mentioning Wilyer Abreu. I don't know. I don't know about that. I feel like, I don't know. If they did Wilyer Abreu, that would definitely close the gap in terms of value. The problem with that is, where does Wilyer end up going, right? They would have to move someone here. I don't know. I just don't see where Wilyer Abreu would fit in this scenario. Unless they moved Ian Happ, somewhere. Maybe they trade him and they bring in Wilyer. I don't know. I'm not sure how they would have to do some maneuvering there. I just think with the Cubs, I don't think they're going to move Justin Steele at the end of the day. That's a guy that's under control. He's a fixture in your rotation. It doesn't make a lot of sense to move Justin Steele at this point, at least in my opinion. Everyone, let's move on here. Let's get away from the Red Sox a little bit. Let's talk the Yankees, shall we? Let's talk a little Yankees here. And when it comes to the Yankees, we know the Yankees, they're always going to be doing something. You can expect the Yankees to be making some moves. And actually, really quick before I do move on to the Yankees, I do just want to mention this because I forgot to talk about this the other night. Luis Rengifo, it has been reported that the Red Sox are interested in Luis Rengifo. I find this interesting. Now, Rengifo, he just came back from a wrist issue, but he's been having a really good year. He's hitting .314, a .357 on base. He's slugging .439. This is a utility kind of a guy. For the Red Sox, I find it interesting because they already have a lot of infielders here. And I don't know. You've been rolling with David Hamilton. He's been quite the sensation this year. They've been rolling with him at second base. Rengifo, he is a switch hitter. So, I don't know. You're going to be getting Vaughn Grissom back here eventually. I don't know. I feel like for the Red Sox, they're going to be looking to add a right-handed hitter that can also play first base, that can go with Dominic Smith. Tristan Casas, I guess he's going to be coming back here eventually. The reports weren't looking very good with Casas. It was looking like, he's maybe going to take a lot longer to come back, but then we just got a report in the last couple of days saying that he has turned a corner. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't know. I feel like Rengifo at this point, I don't see where he goes necessarily unless some other guys get moved that can create an opening. But keep your eyes out for Rengifo. But since we're talking about a guy that can play second base, let's talk about the Yankees here, right? Now, when it comes to the Yankees, we got some ideas from Jorge Castillo of ESPN. He did have a little something here saying that the Yankees are looking to make some moves. Now, where was the quote? Where was it? So, yeah, I don't know if anyone caught this, but Juan Soto, he made some interesting comments saying it's going to take more than two guys to go to the World Series and win it. He's not wrong, to be completely honest with you. I thought that was interesting. A lot of people were on Twitter saying, "Oh yeah, Juan Soto, he's done. He's moving on." It's so funny with the Yankees, man. It's like every team, every single year, it revolves around one or two guys. This year being two. In the past couple of years, it revolves around Judge. But he's not wrong about that. So there was a quote. I'm trying to find the exact quote here. So I don't know where the quote is, but recent reports with the Yankees is that they are willing to trade Spencer Jones in the right deal. They are less inclined to move Jason Dominguez. I would not move Jason Dominguez. I think you need to keep that guy. I think that would be insane if you moved him. He just needs to get healthy. I think he's going to be a fixture for the Yankees. They need to get him back in that lineup, right? Remember what happened last year with Jason Dominguez? This was a guy that he was just on fire when he came up. It felt like that Yankees lineup had energy, but then he got hurt. So Jason Dominguez should be back at some point. But for the Yankees, I think their big thing is they need to beef up the bullpen. That was part of this article. I think Tanner Scott makes a lot of sense here. I think you got to go for a guy that can give you a different look at the back end of a bullpen. I think Tanner Scott being a lefty, he gives the Yankees a different look there. So, taking also with the Yankees, right? I mean, if they wanted to add another bat to, try and deepen this lineup, maybe someone like a Luis Rengifo could make some sense. He can move around. He can play some other positions as well. Maybe if you did go to the Marlins and you go talk to him about Tanner Scott, maybe you could also do something here with Jazz Chisholm. The Yankees have been connected with Jazz Chisholm as of late. So let's see. I think the Yankees absolutely could pull off a deal here. There was a little something when it came to Jazz Chisholm in an article on The Athletic that came out today from Ken Rosenthal, Patrick Mooney, and Will Salmon, along with Katie Wu. Says here that two league sources, one with the Marlins, one with another club, used the same phrase Tuesday when asked about the questions regarding Jazz Chisholm's makeup. It's not a secret, the sources said, speaking on condition of anonymity. I know I just botched that, whatever, in exchange for the candor. Now, Jazz, we already know here when you got Jazz, yeah, there's going to be a little something there, right? We have seen some people come out, talking about Jazz where they've said they feel like he just needs to be in the right situation. Could Jazz with the Yankees be the right situation? Maybe. When you got Judge there, you got Soto there, I feel like that maybe could be a good spot for him. We'll just have to wait and see if the Yankees end up doing it. But he is a guy that can give them an upgrade at second base. Gleyber Torres has just had a really bad year this year. He can go out in the outfield too. There has been some talk as well on Jonathan India, right? Jonathan India was in the news here. Let me actually pull that up here. But so when it came to, hold on, that's not going to help me here. Where was that report here? Here it is. So the Yankees showing interest in Jonathan India. Says here, and this was just the article that I was looking at. So where is, again, I had the quotes, and all of a sudden, they just all disappeared. Where did India go? Here we go. So it says here, the Yankees have also expressed interest in Reds infielder Jonathan India, but the Reds aren't expected to make him available unless they drop in the National League wildcard race over the next week. He also did mention Luis Rengifo in here too. Also, don't forget about Nico Horner. Now, we did have the super chat here with the Mariners just a little bit ago. I'm sorry, I'm going blank on that super chat. Is it still here? Yogi Dude, earlier in the stream, you asked, do you think the deadline will fix the Mariners lineup? I mentioned, we were talking about Isaac Paredes. I think that could be a bat. I also think Nico Horner would be a really good option for the Seattle Mariners too. Especially now that the Mariners, you just lost J.P. Crawford for a little bit. So Nico Horner could be a guy, he could play shortstop, right? He can go, and when J.P. Crawford comes back, right, move Nico Horner over to second. You got to do something there with Jorge Polanco. I don't know what you do there. But I think Nico Horner could definitely be an option for the Mariners, especially with the J.P. Crawford injury. Keep an eye out for that. But for the Yankees, I think he could actually be a nice addition for the New York Yankees. Maybe you could do a deal with Spencer Jones, right? Let's actually let's do a little something there. Could you imagine, right, the Yankees once again trading for a second baseman, right? Well, Gleyber Torres was a shortstop when they got him, right? So a little different. But wouldn't that be hilarious if they went and got Nico Hoerner from the Cubs? And let's say you did maybe something like this, right? You got Nico Hoerner here. Let's have him go to the Yankees. And that would be really nice because he's going to give you some speed. He'll give you some defense there too. I think that could actually be a really nice addition for them. And, I think Spencer Jones, he makes sense in this kind of a deal here. I think that could be a nice addition for the Cubs. They don't necessarily need an outfielder at this point, So I feel like that could be a nice prospect to add. Again, I know the Cubs, they want to compete next year. But, maybe they could do something along these lines. Another thing with Nico Hoerner is you got Triantos and Shaw down in the minor leagues. Both are at Double-A right now. They're getting pretty close. So, why not? I think this could be a pretty nice deal here. The Yankees, they get Nico Hoerner for a couple of years, can be their second baseman, gives them speed, some good defense, a high contact bat. I think this would be really nice. And yeah, Spencer Jones, maybe one more piece in here. Maybe throw in, I don't know, like one of the maybe like a Brock Selvage. Right, you could do Spencer Jones and Selvage, and look at that. That's pretty much as even as it can be. I don't know, Yankee fans, let me know what you would think about this. I kind of like this. To be completely honest with you, I have not thought about this trade before. I could see it. I think this is pretty interesting. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens with the Yankees. I do think they end up adding something for the bullpen. I think that's a guarantee. They will add something for that bullpen. I don't think they add anything for the rotation. I feel like that's fine. But yeah, bullpen, and then maybe a guy that can help lengthen that lineup, give him a bit of a different look. Again, you could kill two birds with one stone. If you got Jazz Chisholm, Tanner Scott, Jazz is going to give you some speed in there as well. We'll just have Reds. We just talked about Jonathan India here. The Yankees showing interest. I feel like India at this point, is he ever going to move? I don't know. I'm not going to believe it until I see it. This guy's been in the rumor mill for what feels like years now. I don't know. Jonathan India, he got red hot a little bit ago. The one thing with the Reds, man, they had high expectations coming into this year. But here they are. They're just floundering, right? They had a lot of injuries this year too. So, I don't know. Is this the Reds' year? I'm not quite sure. But no surprise to see Jonathan India gaining some interest out there. And we also got a little something here on the Reds real quick. Oh, here we go. Was this the... No, that wasn't it. I swear, I have these articles pulled up. And then they all just disappear. Here we go. We got this story from yesterday. Actually, let me make sure there wasn't another one here. Nope, I think that was it. Yeah, Reds likely to trade from their bullpen depth. You got a couple of guys in there, right? They just mentioned a couple of guys here. Emilio Pagan, he's going to be coming back here soon. Nick Martinez, that's a guy that I think could be of interest on the market, right? Nick Martinez has proven to be a guy that can really give you some good production out of the bullpen, or he can even open some games for you. He can even start some games. So Nick Martinez, I think, could be a hot commodity for a lot of teams out there. Be on the lookout for him. I could definitely see someone like him, but for the Reds, I don't know. I feel like Alexis Diaz. I don't know. I don't see them moving him, but, someone like a Nick Martinez, I think, is absolutely a possibility. And really quick, if we go to the payroll here, he's on a pretty decent deal, right? He has the player option for next year, but it's only $12 million. So I think if a team trades for him, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal if he exercises that player option at the end of the day. So yeah, I definitely think he can end up getting moved. Frankie Montas, he's a name that's been coming up here as of late. He's had a couple of clunkers here recently. Maybe he's running into some fatigue there. You got to remember he, had the shoulder operated on. He was pretty solid for the most part this year, but had a couple of rough starts that really inflated that ERA and the FIP. So look out here, Frankie Montas. I definitely think he could be a piece. He's got the mutual option. Usually the mutual options don't end up getting exercised. I don't know. Frankie Montas, I don't think he's going to be a game changer for a rotation out there, but if a team is looking for someone to, give him some starts down the stretch, help out with some innings, I could see Frankie Montas getting moved. But Nick Martinez, I think he will definitely have some popularity on the market. When it comes to his trade value, if we're looking at what he would cost here, so he has actually listed at a -3 right now. And again, that's mainly because, he's a 33-year-old reliever at this point that's making a good amount of money. I think with Nick Martinez, I don't think that's going to be something that holds teams back, right? It's not a big negative value at the end of the day, and teams are always looking for relievers at the deadline. I think the market is going to inflate that trade value there, so I wouldn't really, be too concerned about that -3. I think Nick Martinez could be very popular. And we got one more story out here. The Phillies. Speaking of relievers, you got Kyle Finnegan out there. And Lane Thomas, his name is starting to pick up a little bit, and the Phillies are showing interest in Thomas and Kyle Finnegan. This would be a really interesting in-division trade because the Phillies, I personally think, they need to go for a right-handed bat that can hit lefties really well, that can go with Brandon Marsh. I think Lane Thomas is absolutely perfect for the Philadelphia Phillies. Will the Nationals actually do a deal with the Phillies in division? I feel like you're seeing more of it these days, and the Nationals are out of it. They have their eyes on the future anyway. So I think for the Phillies, I think it just makes a lot of sense. And hey, add one more arm to that bullpen as well. That would be just a nasty bullpen if you add Kyle Finnegan to it. That would be fantastic. If we put together a trade here between the Phillies and the Nationals, I don't think it's going to really cost all that much, right? So if we're taking a look, let's pull up Thomas. Thomas has a little bit of value here, and then Finnegan is not going to have a ton either. This is very achievable if you're the Philadelphia Phillies. Lane Thomas, you got a median value of 5.6. Finnegan's at a 4.4. Yeah, I absolutely think the Phillies could get something like this done. They're trying to hang on to a lot of these top prospects that they have, right? I don't think now is the time to be dealing away Andrew Painter, right? Yes, you have this team that is doing extremely well this year. But you still need to keep your eyes on that farm a little bit too, right? Aiden Miller, I think you got to hang on to him. Justin Crawford, even Kaba there. You'd like to hang on to those guys if you can. There's always going to be situations where maybe someone like a Mason Miller could end up being just a huge piece for you, like a checkmate kind of a move. But you also have to keep your eye on the future a little bit too, right? So I feel like you end up keeping those guys, and then, you don't have to give up a whole lot here. Maybe you could do like someone like an Eduardo Tate. You could do maybe like a Brian Rincon. Maybe you could do Mick Abel. I feel like Mick Abel needs a change of scenery at this point. He's just been having a rough time down in the minor leagues. You got a couple of guys here. If you wanted to do a package deal for these guys, the Phillies, I think, could definitely get it done. But everyone, I think that's all I got here for tonight. Be on the lookout for more news, more rumors. We're only going to be getting more of this coming in the next couple of days. But everyone, tomorrow, myself and Jim of Ballcap Sports, we will be live here on this channel with John Bitzer of BaseballTradeValues.com. He will be joining us live to talk the trade deadline. You do not want to miss that. We are getting extremely close here to the trade deadline. You do not want to miss what John Bitzer has to say, especially when we're talking about the trade values and everything else. His thoughts, he's usually pretty on the money when it comes to this stuff. So be here tomorrow night. We're going to be live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a great conversation with us three. You don't want to miss it. Everyone, if you can, on the way out, make sure that bell is turned on. Make sure that like button is hit. Share the show for the replay viewers. Hit that subscribe button. And everyone, I'm going to bug you one more time. I'm going to bug you one more time. If you can, go vote for me on Twitter. We are now, because of you, we are now ahead in the poll. I am posting the link in the chat. If you can go click that link and vote for me, I will greatly appreciate that. Again, click the link and just sharing the screen here. Again, and for some reason, if that link isn't working, just go to my profile, go to my X account. I just posted it recently. Really, this would be such an honor for me to be able to get to this big tournament this coming off season with all the big Red Sox personalities. I would love to be a part of that. If you can make that happen for me, I will be truly grateful. Your vote would mean so much for me. But everyone, I'm gonna wrap it up there. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow night. Just wanted to come on here real quick tonight, do a quick show, and don't forget, we also just posted a video not too long ago. Go check that out if you haven't seen it already. But everyone, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Go have yourself a great night, and we'll talk to you next time.